It's hard to imagine a time when the United States didn't exist. Today, it's one of the most powerful nations in the world, influencing global politics, culture, and technology. But how did it all begin? The story of America is not a simple one, it's a tale of discovery, conflict, revolution, and reinvention. It's a history filled with moments of great triumph and deep tragedy, of people fighting for freedom, of new ideas shaping the course of humanity. And to understand America today, we have to go back, way back, to a time long before the first Europeans set foot on its shores. Long before the United States, before the British colonies, before even Christopher Columbus, the land that would one day become America was home to millions of people. Indigenous civilizations flourished across the continent, each with their own languages, traditions, and ways of life. In the Southwest, the ancestral Puebloans built massive stone dwellings in the cliffs, creating cities that still stand today. In the Mississippi Valley, the mound builders constructed great earthen pyramids, their societies thriving on trade and agriculture. The Great Plains were dominated by nomadic tribes like the Sioux, who followed vast herds of bison, while in the Northeast, the Iroquois Confederacy developed one of the most sophisticated political systems in the world. For thousands of years, these cultures adapted to their environments, building vast trade networks and thriving societies. But in the late 15th century, everything changed. In 1492, Columbus reached the Caribbean, setting off a wave of European exploration that would reshape the continent. The Spanish arrived first, claiming vast territories in the south, from present-day Florida to California. The French settled along the Mississippi River and in Canada. And in 1607, the British established their first permanent colony in Jamestown, Virginia. Life in these early colonies was brutal. Disease, starvation, and conflict with Native Americans made survival difficult. But over time, the British colonies grew. By the early 1700s, 13 colonies stretched along the Atlantic coast, each developing its own economy and culture. The North became a hub for trade and industry, while the South relied on large plantations, worked by enslaved Africans. The colonies were technically under British rule, but they were starting to develop a distinct identity of their own. Tensions with Britain grew over time. Heavy taxation, trade restrictions, and a lack of political representation angered many colonists. Protests turned into rebellion, and in 1775, war broke out between Britain and its American colonies. The American Revolution was a long and brutal conflict, but it gave rise to some of the most famous moments in American history. The signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776 declared that all men were created equal and that the colonies were now a free nation. After years of fighting, the United States officially won its independence in 1783. But independence was just the beginning. The new country had to figure out how to govern itself. In 1787, the U.S. Constitution was drafted, creating a system of government that balanced power between the states and the federal government. The first president, George Washington, took office in 1789, setting precedents that would shape the presidency for generations to come. As the country expanded westward, new opportunities, and new conflicts, arose. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the nation, and pioneers pushed further into unknown territory. But this expansion came at a cost. Native American tribes were forcibly removed from their lands, most notably during the Trail of Tears in the 1830s, when thousands were forced to march westward under brutal conditions. Meanwhile, deep divisions were forming between the North and South. The biggest issue was slavery. The Southern economy depended on enslaved labor, while many in the North wanted to abolish the practice. Tensions boiled over in 1861, when the Southern states seceded from the Union, leading to the Civil War. For 4 years, the country was torn apart in one of the bloodiest conflicts in American history. More than 600,000 lives were lost. In the end, the Union was preserved, and slavery was abolished, but the scars of the war would last for generations. The late 19th century saw America transform into an industrial powerhouse. Railroads connected the country like never before, factories churned out steel and machinery, and cities grew at an unprecedented rate. Immigrants from Europe poured in, searching for a better life. The Statue of Liberty, erected in 1886, became a symbol of hope and opportunity. But it wasn't an easy time for everyone. Many workers toiled in harsh conditions, corruption ran rampant, and Native American resistance was crushed as the last free tribes were forced onto reservations. By the early 20th century, America was on the world stage. It entered World War I in 1917, helping to tip the balance of the war. The 1920s brought economic prosperity, but that prosperity collapsed in 1929 with the Great Depression, the worst economic crisis in U.S. history. Millions lost their jobs, banks failed, and the country struggled to recover. It wasn't until World War II that the economy truly rebounded. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the U.S. joined the war, playing a decisive role in defeating Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. When the war ended in 1945, America emerged as a global superpower. But the post-war era wasn't just about economic growth and technological advances, it was also a time of intense political rivalry. The Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union shaped global politics for nearly half a century, as the two nations competed in everything from nuclear weapons to space exploration. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s saw figures like Martin Luther King Jr. fight for racial equality, leading to major legal and social changes. The late 20th century brought both triumphs and challenges. The moon landing in 1969 marked a historic achievement, while the Vietnam War exposed deep divisions in American society. The 1980s and 90s saw economic booms, the end of the Cold War, and the rise of the Internet. But the 21st century brought new struggles. The terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, led to wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The 2008 financial crisis shook the global economy. And in recent years, political and social tensions have only grown stronger. Today, America remains one of the most powerful and influential countries in the world. Its history is a story of ambition, resilience, and reinvention. It's a nation shaped by its past, by the people who built it, by the struggles that tested it, and by the ideals that continue to define it. But history is never just about the past. It's about what comes next. And as America moves forward, one thing is certain: its story is far from over.